Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Double Kick podcast. Double the kick, double the games, and double the friends we make along the way. I am just one of your hosts for this evening, Terry to the Thompson. And if I were a mid-gen upgrade version of myself that costs $700, the upgrades to me would be I would be able to start a task and finish it without starting another task. I would come with a better sleep schedule, and I would come with the ability to grow a full beard instead of just the underbeard and mustache not connecting combo. So those would be my upgrades that would be worth a $700 price increase. And joining me today is my beautiful co-host, Dan Hoy. Dan, how's it going?
It's going well. Those are some luxury upgrades you got going on.
Thanks. Hey, I got to make the price increase worth it, you know?
Yeah, with inflation and all, I think you go above and beyond.
Oh, you think so? I could charge a little more.
So. I think you could go a little higher. I mean, those are things people pay good money for.
That's right. That's right. That's true. Maybe 750 or 800 or something like that.
I'd shoot for it. Maybe 801, 801.99.
Ooh, Dan said,
Yeah.
know your worth.
I think if I were to have a mid-gen upgrade, I would come with maybe AI language.
Okay. Very hot right now, AI.
Super hot right now. AI could do almost anything these days. The one thing I would like it to do for me is tell me what to think, tell me what to say, so I don't have to flounder so much.
I get it. Just strip away my entire free will and what it is to be a person. Like,
Exactly.
do my tasks for me.
This isn't like Alexa. This isn't Siri. This isn't even Cortana. This is like this is like AI 3.0.
AI 3.0. This the upgrade. It's the next version. Speaking of AI, like I have been using ChatGPT a lot lately, not for menial tasks that it has definitely made things easier. Like I'm very bad at typing out emails. I'm very it's just hard for me to really find the wording for things, especially in written out format. So I've been putting prompts into ChatGPT, and I won't take it word for word, but I'll definitely take the basis of things and the ideal of maybe how to word a couple things, and it's been helping a lot lately with stuff
That's
like
awesome.
that.
I mean, you can't get mad at that, because if it's just your run of the mill email,
Right.
hi, how are you, per your last email, right? I feel like that's okay. But if you want to get personal about it, right? If you're sending me an email, I'd want it to be much more heartfelt and thoughtful.
Yeah, absolutely. This is just pure work stuff, between coworkers and stuff like that. If I'm sending you a message, Dan, it is straight from the dome, from the heart, obviously. Maybe
And it's probably really serious if you're sending an email instead of texting me or something.
You get an email from me one day and it's just, hey, what's up, man? What time do you want to record tonight? Why did you send this to my email, dude?
I'll respond to that later. I'll schedule a reply.
Thanks, man. I think about sometimes just randomly writing out a letters and just sending them to all my friends, but it would just be the most mundane, hey, how's it going, man? What's up? Kind of thing. But you just receive a full stamped, and maybe I'll type it out on my typewriter, type of thing, and wax seal it.
Classy, though. That's classy. It could be a journal entry or a diary entry.
Yeah.
Just unsolicited. Hey, guess what I did today?
It's dearest Dan, ShopRite was very full today. I got home at a later time than I thought I would. 81 was packed.
But there
Sincerely.
was a sale on avocados.
There's a sale on avocados. Sincerely, Terry. P.S. Venmo me for this postage stamp. Thank you.
Oh, man, I would love that. I would frame that one.
Thanks, man. But hey, listen, I don't want to get into the preamble too much because we got
Sure.
some heavy hitters today that I think both of us have like a lot of words to say about and a lot of opinions on. So how about we just kind of dive straight into what we got going on?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go. Let's do it. I'll start us off first because this is a very familiar subject to you. I think after one of our recordings, you said to me, Terry, if I send you my copy of Stellar Blade, you have to promise to make it your main game,
Yep.
and see it through to the end. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'll do that, no problem. And then maybe a week or so later, you confirmed with me what my address was, and I'm like, ah,
Yep.
man, okay, here we go. And then I get a little notification on my email because I get like I have email notifications from USPS when I
Oh,
get
that's
mail
cool.
or packages. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really handy. And I get a notification that I'm receiving a package from like New Jersey or whatever. And I'm like, here we go, baby. And lo and behold, Stellar
You're on
Blade
up.
shows up at my doorstep. And I pop that baby into the PS5 and I download it. And I was in for a wild ride. I was in for
Oh
a
my
wild
god, you
ride.
were. Terry, I gotta be honest with you. I know, like, we didn't, like, get into a lot of details about your playthrough,
Mhm.
but I was being a little creep, and I was I was checking my friend list on PlayStation almost every
Uh-huh,
night to
uh-huh.
see what is Terry up to? What is he playing tonight?
Oh,
You better
man.
be playing Stellar Blade. Lo and behold, you did. You were
Lo and
playing.
behold, I did. I saw it to just about completion. There's a story behind that. I saw it to just about completion.
Okay.
Um, and I wow, this this was a great game. This was such a fun, fully realized game. Super action-packed, super complete. The game did not overstay its welcome. I don't think there was a single point in the game where I wasn't having fun. I liked running around the main little hub town between missions, like, when things weren't full of action and full of glamour, things were still fun. Um, the main mission itself was full of so many twists and turns and
Oh,
different
yeah,
themes, and even the side missions, like, I enjoyed the side missions, like, the ones that aren't the stakes aren't super high and all
right.
that. One thing I really enjoyed about the side missions, as soon as you complete them, it gives you the option to just immediately go back to the person who gave it to you and like, turn it in or essentially.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, that was great. Super, super good quality of life feature right there. And before we dive into the specifics, I'm just finishing up my general thoughts. Like this is just like super fun. Like, and the lore of everything was super intriguing. Figuring out things as Eve was figuring out things was really cool. You mentioned when you were talking about it was, if they took away the fan service of it all and the bikinis of it all, underneath all of that would still be a great,
Solid.
great action game. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a really good game, and I'm glad you saw it through. And generally, you really liked playing it just as much as I did.
Mhm.
Um, because the whole time I was playing, like, man, Terry would like this, Terry would like that, because it's very familiar to us, and it had its nice fresh take on this action combat RPG style.
Mhm.
Um, and having like a main hub that didn't really feel like a main hub for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And being able to branch off from there, I don't know. It just felt all organic, and I had to show someone this game, and I just knew it'd be a good fit for you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's cool to see, like, these action games, like, still be relevant, in a world where FromSoft exists and Souls-like exists. I feel like so many games are, like, trying to emulate that formula, where with this one, it's more of like it's more like God of War-like
Hmm.
in an essence. The parry system was so fun,
So
and when you do
satisfying, right?
successfully it's so good, dude, and it's so satisfying when you do, like, successfully do it, the feedback and the clang and the lights that, like, shimmer off of it.
So
So
flashy, yeah.
so flashy, so flashy, and, like, every weapon you get, like, you have your blade, and then the gun upgrade you get later on. I thought the gun upgrade was gonna be just kinda like whatever,
Mhm.
as soon as I got it, I'm like, "I'm not gonna use this that often," but I ended up, like, really kitting it out, and, like, there were moments where, me and a Natiba or, like, a boss, like, we're both on, like, the last, like, millimeter of, like, health, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "Do I rush in or do I just, like, unload the gat?" And I'm just like, "Oh, you know what? Let's play safe." And I'm just like, "Pa, pa, 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 pa."
I had the same reaction. You get the gun upgrade, and I'm like, what am I gonna use this for? Sure, there is some like smaller main missions where you can only use your gun.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, and those
but
are cool too.
those were a lot of fun, super creative, right?
Mhm.
Um, but when it came to those like big boss fights, I had the same like thought. I'm like, do I risk it? Do I get greedy? Because I know I will, and I
Right.
know I'll die. I'll lose,
Yep.
right? But that I used the laser one. It was like a laser
Oh,
cannon.
yeah, that laser one was good.
Yeah, and I just held down that button. I'm like, this has got to do something, right?
Mhm.
I didn't rely on it too much, but it was such a nice addition to the already like sophisticated swordplay of it all, right?
Yeah, dude, a great addition, like, it didn't feel like just like another throwaway mechanic or whatever. It felt like if you wanna take advantage of this, you can, but if you don't wanna touch it and just rely on your sword, you don't have to. You mentioned, like, the laser beam. I use that because it's, you get, like, 3 bullets of the laser or whatever. It's this super strong, like, laser that you can, like, hold down and charge up, and it does, like, a lot of damage,
Mhm.
but you have to, like, charge it up first. So I would use that one if there was like a room with like multiple enemies and there were some like flying like support enemies, I would like use the laser from far away to take down those support enemies. And then I would like charge up and then switch to like the shotgun shells and then fire off a
Ooh,
few shotgun shells into like the main guy
right.
because they'll do a lot of damage. And then like finish it off with like a sword attack combo. There's so many other things too. Like there's the beta charges you get, which is kinda
Mhm.
like this game's version of, like, your, like, powers, I guess, is, like, the simplest way to put it. And all these things have their own skill tree, so you can, like, really
Oh
kit
yeah,
out yeah, dude, you can kit out your character as much as you want to, which can be overwhelming at times. There are definitely times when I'm like, I'm definitely not playing to, like, my strengths, or I'm definitely not taking advantage of all of Eve's arsenals when I'm just, like, mashing, like, the light attack button over and over again,
right.
but for some people, like, they could probably go, like, way crazy, like, super
Oh yeah.
crazy, like, skill tree and, like,
It's like an
combos.
art. Yeah, it's amazing. And I think my approach with the skill tree was like, I'm just gonna like stick to one part of the branches
Mhm.
and just like make that my thing. But eventually, like as you master whatever you had preferred early on, you feel like you want to expand and you slowly get into other branches on your skill tree.
Yep.
Um, but there are so many different like ways you could sort of like specialize in your combat style, and I thought that was so cool. Um, at the end, towards the end of the game, I don't think I upgraded a whole lot of the like ultimate moves for what's her name, Taki's like ultimate
Yeah.
form, or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, and I relied more on the beta skills, and they were so powerful, and it made
Oh,
it much
yeah.
more fun, and I didn't have to rely on that ultimate gauge to charge up.
Mhm.
Um, what did you think about sort of like the specialty action cues? One of them was like teleporting behind the enemy, and then I forget what the other one was. I think it was like teleporting away from the enemy. One was blue, one was like pink.
Oh, yeah, 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 that's right, right, right. I thought those were cool, like, they added a layer to combat to where you really had to, like, pay attention to, like, the enemy's movements,
Right.
and I felt like they gave you enough time to, like, press the corresponding buttons. So with, like, for the listener, when an enemy is, like, doing a combo at you, sometimes they'll, like, do an attack where, they'll have, like, a blue light that shines on them, and when those happen, you have to, like, press circle, I believe. And then a purple one where you press triangle, and the blue one you teleport behind them, and if you the purple one you push away from them, but it opens up a weak spot. But you have to like press a certain button at a certain time. And I felt like it gave you enough time to really do it.
Mhm.
And it was forgiving enough, but also like, it didn't like it wasn't like you're gonna hit it like without a doubt. Like there are easy ways to mess it up. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it. I really thought it added a good layer to the combat, to
right.
make you like have
Especially
battle awareness.
right, especially for the boss fights where it was like kind of a pattern, sure. Like you
Mhm,
understood the move set, but um it was a lot of reaction time, whether it was by parry or any of those specialty dodges.
mhm,
Um and it kept me on my toes the whole time. And I know I know it's like I'm hooked in a game when like I a boss will defeat me and I have to start all over.
mhm.
Um, and my first thought isn't, oh man, like this sucks. It's I
Yeah.
gotta go back. I gotta get my
Mhm.
revenge, right? And that's how I know like I'm fully immersed in this game and like my blood gets pumping. And that achievement, that victory you feel when you I mean, I was gonna say just like defeat a boss, but like it comes with a whole cutscene when you defeat a boss, right?
Yes,
Like that
yes.
that is like another layer on top of it. Man, what a thrill that game is.
Yeah, dude, it's super satisfying, and everything you just said, I think that's just the sign of a great battle, like, great mechanics, like, great nothing feels cheap, like, when you lose to a boss, and especially the boss that I was messaging you about initially,
Mhm.
the one, like, towards the end. I fought that boss, Dan, I at least oh, man, 30 times? Maybe even,
30.
like maybe more than that, dude, maybe more than that. And every, like, 5 to, like, 10 rebattles, I would, like, run to the respec, like, machine and, like, think, like, "Okay, I respec my points into this skill because 'cause I'm using this one more than this one, or respec into this one," and I'm, like, totally, like, changing up my character, like, every,
Yeah.
5 losses because 'cause I'm, like, but it wasn't frustrating. It wasn't out of frustration or, like, anger or, it was thrilling because the battles I'm losing them because not because, like, anything's cheap or anything is, like or any of, like, their battle animations are hard to read. I'm just losing them because I need to learn them a little better, and
Mhm.
it feels rewarding. I don't I don't wanna say it feels rewarding when you lose, but, like, you know why you lose,
Right.
and
It's not like really an accident. It's like a
right.
conscious choice.
Absolutely, yeah, and when you do start to learn their patterns and you start to parry a little better, and you parry so much in that fight, in general, you do as well, but, like, that fight, fantastic, it was so much fun, um, but yeah, it's telegraphed so well, the fights are so much fun, and the music. The music, I think, is, like, not talked about enough for this game, or
No,
maybe it is, but it is so good,
like
man, like
talk about atmosphere. Every world had its music. And like for me, going back to like home base, right? I like to feel like home base is it's like fleshed out a little bit, a lot more than the rest of the worlds.
yeah,
Um, do you remember what the town's called?
Zion? Was it
Zion.
X?
Yes.
Zion?
Yep. So Zion, when you go back to Zion and the music plays and it just kind of like flows as you walk into town and you
Mhm,
feel at peace, right? You feel comfort.
yeah.
The same when you find like a rest stop, right?
Yes, oh my god, the music that plays at the rest stops are so good.
I have to admit I've actually utilized rest stops for me and my hands to rest.
Yeah,
And that music was top notch. It was parallel. Like my experience with Eve sitting on her chair to rest and heal. I felt like me in real life as a person. I'm sitting on my couch and be like, man, I just gotta like take a break and take in this music, right?
yeah.
I think I added some of the songs to a playlist on my one of my Spotify
Oh,
playlists.
that's cool, I gotta look those up.
Um, and it just puts me back into the zone. And whoever whoever thought of this music, whoever sang it, wrote it, produced it, like genius.
Mhm. Perfect atmosphere. Ah, some standouts, like the rest stop music is great. It's
Mhm.
super just, like, chill.
And it
The
switches
first
up. I think there's like
Mhm.
multiple like rest stop songs, all have the same vibe.
Yeah, yeah, and you can, like, change them out at the rest stop. There's, like, a
Okay,
record
yeah,
player for you to, like, change the music. It's great. It's
right.
The rest stops are great. I could spend the whole game just chilling at one of those. The first world that you're in, before you, like the one that the game starts in, like, the
Mhm.
decrepit city or whatever, just the vibe of the music that's playing there to really it makes you feel like you're in just like a I don't wanna say like an anime world, but like kind of something like that or like, what's that one show? Ghost in the Shell. You remember Ghost in the Shell
Oh,
from
yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Adult
Mhm.
Swim? Something like that, like just the vibe is like so good. Um, immaculate.
Did
Immaculate.
you did you have a like a favorite world or zone?
I really liked, let me think. I really liked that first world, like the decrepit city. I
Mhm.
wasn't a big fan of the desert. I didn't like the running around, like, that big open space, the
And
wasteland one.
there's a random, like, quicksand pit there that if you cross, you're game over, that's it.
Yeah, yeah, it was strange. I enjoyed, like I'm glad there was a fast travel mechanic
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure, that I'm glad that was there. What else? This game had just, like, really good environment besides the desert, which is fine, like, it wasn't the
Mhm.
worst thing in the world, but it had some really, really good environments and set pieces, like, towards the end as well, when you start, like, I don't wanna spoil it because, like, some of these places, like, I feel like really add to, like, the surprise factor, but when you start going, like, you know, to other places, like, and experiencing, like, other things that are
Mhm.
up there, I thought that was really cool. And just it's it adds a scale to things, like, there are big things and then there are, like, huge things, and it's just like, wow, like, the it's giving, like, God of War 2018 when, like, the world serpent comes down and you just realize, like, how much bigger that thing is than you.
Right.
There are just some elements to this game, it's like, it makes you feel so small, but, like, in a cool way, you know?
And yeah, yeah. I don't think this is a spoiler, but, people view Eve, the citizens of Earth, I guess it's Earth or Earth-like.
Mhm,
They look at Eve like she's an angel sent from the heavens, as their folklore has told them, right?
mhm,
Um, and it's just such an interesting concept that they look at her as an angel and they call her Angel, right?
right.
And like some people are kind of like shocked by it, other people are like, "Oh yeah, you're an angel," as the folklore had said, right?
Mhm.
Um, it was just an interesting like society that they showed us in the game. Um, and there's one side mission that I was really invested in, which I don't know if you did it. It was based out of Zion, where you had to bring this singer back to life. She was like a cyborg.
Yeah, that's, like, one of the ones that I did. I only did a couple, but that's one I saw through to the end.
Yeah, that one was a deeper story and more heartfelt story than I had expected.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, I got really attached to those characters in Zion.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, like, the side missions, they're not the deepest thing in the world, but, they tell a little bit of a story and they add
Mhm,
background to this world and this town that's being, like, rebuilt. And I saw that one through to the end because when I started it, I'm like, this it starts off with, like, super, like, interesting imagery of, like, this girl, she's like a robot, but she's, like, missing half her body, and I'm like, "Wow, that's super interesting." And then
mhm,
seeing it through to the end was super rewarding. Um, I wanna, like, touch on when you said about Eve and, like, people calling her an angel, and then just, like, taking that word angel and then, like, the things you see, like, later on in the game, especially, like, some of the bosses, like, taking that word angel and, like, flipping it on its head, like, you see, like, some really cool boss design,
right?
man, like, these are
Yeah,
some the coolest looking things, dude, like,
like,
so
it's
creative.
I would never have thought to make these nativas to look the way they did, right?
Mhm.
especially the alpha nativas.
Oh, dude,
Um,
yeah.
like it looks like they had concept art, and they're like, but that's it. We don't really have to do much else to this concept art. This is what we want, right?
Dude, absolutely. May For the listener, we might dive into a little bit of a spoiler territory, so you maybe fast forward a little bit. Um, but I really need to, like, talk about it. Like, the alpha nativa you see in space that, like, is
Oh,
like, this, like, huge so, like, you go up in space, you're, like, climbing this, like, space tower or whatever, it's like a huge space station, and then you fight what you think is, like, the boss in that space station, and then, like, you get jutted out of the space station, so you're, like, floating free in space, and Eve is, like, this, like, android person, so she can, like, breathe in space, and then, like, what y the she turns around to look at the space station, and this is like a huge, like, big old, like, the size of a city space station, and then there's this giant Naytiba, Alpha Naytiba, which is, like, the enemies of this game, this organic life matter, like, swallowing the space station, and it looks like a biblically like, one of those biblically
yeah,
accurate, like, angels, so it has,
yeah,
like, multiple eyes and multiple wings, and it's just
right.
the I took so many screenshots, it looks
Oh,
so
you did?
cool.
You gotta send them to me because I think you're right, that's what they were going for, right?
Mhm.
Sort of having that same feeling as something ethereal and so much bigger than us. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's something that you would only read about in scripture or books or anything like that, right?
Mhm.
They really captured that. And side note, did you ever play Sonic Adventure 2?
No, I didn't.
Okay. The game's super old, so I'll spoil it. At the end of
Okay.
the game, you have to fight a very a very similar creature in space,
Oh,
and it
no.
kinda just looks like a gray sausage in space. Um, but it's supposed to
Right.
be, like, enormous. You and, Sonic and Shadow team up together to fight it. Um,
Okay.
and when I first saw this Alpha Nativa, I was like, "Okay, this is kinda got the same feel," and I'm kinda, like, chuckling to myself about it, but I understand the gravity of this all, for lack thereof.
Right,
Did
right,
you
right.
look
Like
did you look it up?
no, I was writing that down, I'm like, "I'm gonna make
Okay.
this title of the episode, Gray Sausage in Space," but I do wanna look it up.
Another note I wanted to make, I may have said this when I was talking about it, when I during my first playthrough, but I didn't really register the what's the word? Like, the religiosity of it all.
Mhm.
Um, I really came in thinking, like, it's a game about an android who's kind of an alien who's fighting other aliens, right?
Right.
Um, it took me the longest time to put together Adam and Eve. Like,
Oh my
I
god.
I didn't even, like, recognize that till I was, like, maybe 4/5 through the game.
I didn't put that together till just now till you said that.
Are you serious?
Oh my god. That's crazy.
And, like,
That's crazy.
talk about spoiler territory, this is a big one, but at the end,
Yeah.
when Adam proposes that we need to fuse to save all of mankind, it's the creationist story, right? Adam and
Uh-huh.
Eve, they're made from the same matter or whatever, and they need to combine to, like, prolong the human race. So, um, that was a bit of a shock when I got to the end and needed to do that.
Yeah. Did you see that coming? The, Adam being who he was?
Uh, kind of. It, like, registered with me when he disappeared for a while,
Right, right.
and, your, like, mechanic, like, friend was like, "I wonder where he is. I wonder where he is." And then,
Yeah.
he comes on for 2 seconds and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I was busy." So I kind of figured it out there.
Yeah, for sure. It took me a minute too, but, like, right before you, like, enter that, like, domain is when I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." Also, I tried looking up every, like, keyword, Sonic Adventure 2 last boss space, Sonic Adventure 2
Yeah.
gray boss sausage, like, I could so when it
Turns
if
out
you ever
it's,
find it, let me know.
turns out it's orange. I don't know why I thought gray. I'm
Oh.
looking at it right but the boss is called, I think Final Hazard. Yeah,
Oh,
Final.
okay, I see him now, I see him.
Yeah. So you listeners who are following along right now, if you just Google like the Bio Lizard from Sonic Adventure 2 or Final Hazard when it eventually goes into space. You'll see what we're talking about. Try not to Google gray sausage in space. That is not my recommendation.
Turn your safe search on right before you Google it or
Please do.
something.
Yes.
He's actually an orange sausage in space, so makes sense. Um, I wanna talk about the kinda just like the story overall,
Yeah.
and, like, comment on some things. So, again, this might be, like, super heavy spoiler territory. I do recommend you, like, play the game, dear listener. This is a fantastic game, and really caught me off guard with how good it was. Uh,
Hmm.
I didn't put together in my head that the that Eve and all of her kind, like, thought that they were human until, like, I don't know what point, but, like, I thought everyone on Earth and in space were, like, these android people, and I didn't know it kinda confused me a little bit because, like,
Yeah.
Eve thought they were human, and
Hmm.
it wasn't, like, kinda, like, clear, or maybe I didn't read enough of, like, the lore droplets. But when so I so Adam turned out to be the last, like, human, kinda,
Right. Right.
um, and I guess, maybe we should, like, go over, like, the story in general at all, or maybe not, I don't
I
you think
mean,
it's
we could try our
necessary?
best. We could try our
Could
best.
could try our
Um,
best, so
because to be honest, I had to watch a lot of recap videos when I beat the game to really
yeah,
understand what was going on. Because there are multiple endings, I wanted to see like what were the alternative endings, and that confused me a little bit more.
yeah,
Um, but I think I am in a similar position as you, where it's like I think I know what's going on. I have a
right,
general understanding. Um, I just know that there's been a lot of lying, a lot of deception, a lot of like
right.
secrets. So that was my takeaway.
Got you. And I too was learning along with Eve. I'm like, am I really learning the right thing? Everyone's lying to me. Guess the general gist to go over though these things. Eve and all like the angels like her are sent down from this thing in space called Mother Sphere, which is like the people regard Mother Sphere as like God and like the protector of like the human race. So Eve and the angels like her are sent down to Earth to eliminate what is called Natibas, and Natibas are essentially like these organic monsters on Earth that caused the supposedly caused the extinction of human life. So the angels are sent down to eliminate alpha Natibas and eventually the elder Natiba being like the one who created like all of them. And then you learn that the people on Earth they're all basically like dead except for like pockets of them. And then there's a big old city called Zion where a lot of them like congregated and live. And then you make friends along the way. There's a person who kind of like saved Eve at the beginning called Adam. He kind of like helps you out. He operates a drone that follows you throughout. So he's like constantly like talking to you. You find another friend named Lily. She's your engineer. So that's kind of like your little team right there. You got Adam, Eve, and Lily. So they're kind of like your core three throughout the most of the game. You find out a little later on that Mother Sphere is actually this like human created AI, and she. I- This is all like paraphrasing. This is like kind of what I
Mhm.
understood from the story, so it could be like totally wrong. So Mother Sphere eventually created like these androids that look like humans, so they're just like
Yes.
androids, right? And then eventually the androids and the humans went to war with each other,
Hmm.
right? And then the humans basically like knew that they weren't going to win this war unless they, evolved like super quickly.
Right.
So, that always turns out for the best in every like fictional story. So you find out later on, kind of like one of the big twists is that the Natibas that you're fighting, these like organic monsters are actually like humans, like they were
Right.
humans that have
Yeah.
just been transformed, right?
Mhm.
So, Eve finds out all of this, so she starts to question everything that she's always known, all that, and you find out later on, after, the whole game, that Adam, the person that's, has been, like, following you this whole time, kinda like, guide your not your guiding light, but he definitely, like, helps you with, like, understanding the world as how it is. You find out later on that he's, like, the elder Naytiba, um,
Yeah,
which
right?
is kinda wild, uh, and I feel like Adam, like, really had, like, good intentions though, because he was just like, I didn't, like one of the Naytibas, the Alpha Naytibas that was, like, kinda working for Adam, like, destroyed the city of Zion,
Mhm.
and later on, he was like, "Hey, listen, like, that wasn't me, like, I'm so sorry, like, that she was working on her own, I'm really interested in just, like, saving humanity. I'm the last, like, living human on Earth, la da 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 da," and then that's when you're given the choice of he's like, "Hey, fuse with me, and we can, like, combat Mother Sphere together," and then you can, like, choose to either fuse with him or not fuse with him, and that leads you down one of, like, 3 paths. Again, that was, like, super paraphrasing. I coulda got
Yeah.
half,
No, I
like,
mean,
all of them.
you got, like, the structure of it. I think from start to finish, that's the big picture, right?
Mm,
Um, Eve comes down as basically a savior with a team of other androids. The captain of the androids, Taki,
mhm,
was destroyed right in the very beginning.
mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
and I think there's one like rogue android,
Right.
uh, Raven, who
Raven.
kind
Yep.
of does her own thing. That was the boss you were referring to earlier.
Yeah.
Um, and she like teams up with Adam, and I don't know. It's almost like she like turns evil, not quite evil, but she kind of like sees through it all.
Yeah, it's kinda like she learns the secrets, and then she turns to Adam's side, and then she gets mad at you because she views you as, like, the chosen one, and she,
Right.
like, she says that Adam chose you, and she doesn't understand why, so that's why she, like, fights you when you would think
Yeah.
that, like, you guys would be on the same side because you're turning against the Mother Sphere. That's how
Right.
I understood it at least, right?
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I think with the Nativas, there were humans that had tried to augment themselves with android parts,
Mhm,
uh, and because they mutated, they became like these organic creatures with like super strength and like horror type bodies.
mhm.
Um, and I mean, I could talk about the very end. I don't know which ending you got.
Right, right. So, like I was saying, like at the beginning, I basically finished the game. Um, so I beat Raven, and it was like a 3-hour ordeal. And
Yep.
then I got to the end, and like the Raven's like the second to last boss. And then I chose the fuse with Adam ending, but I didn't get the secret ending. So there's like there's 3 paths. One's a secret path. If you fuse with Adam, Lily, like, is in this, like, giant mech suit, and she gets controlled by Mother Sphere, and you have to, like, fight Lily, and if you beat her, you kill her, but if you did a certain amount of side missions with her, she, like, survives or whatever, but I
Right.
didn't. So, I'm fighting this, like, giant robot version of Lily. I got it down to, like, almost dead. It was, like, a few, like, inches off the dead meter, and I couldn't manage to beat it, and it was after fighting Raven, and you're like so eventually I'm just like, "You know what? I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
gonna YouTube the endings," like,
Okay.
but I
Okay.
feel, like, validated enough, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. You chose a different path than I chose. I didn't fuse with Adam.
Oh, dude, you got the
Yeah.
that was the cooler of the 2, like, fights, though, I think.
That was a hard fight. That was my Raven fight, compared to what you did.
Mhm.
Because I remember I sent a message to the Discord. I'm like, there is absolutely no way I can beat this, and now I'm locked into this because it like auto saves right
Right.
before you start the fight. And I was like, I don't know if I have it in me to just like really like tackle this over
Mhm.
and over.
Yeah.
Um, I think out of out of insanity, I just kept going. Um, and I don't remember how I did it. I kinda, like, repressed it.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, the ending I got, I think Mother Sphere sends, like, a ton of, other androids to fight her or something like that,
Mhm.
and Eve confronts Mother Sphere and is like, "Oh, you lied," and this and that. Um, I I man, I watched all the endings, so it's starting to merge together for me, but
Yeah, yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
she woke up in space in, like, a ship or something, looked out a window, I think, and panicked and saw,
Right.
like, there was, like, an entire colony of androids surrounding the planet, um, and then screen immediately cut to black, so, um, it was kind of like a hint that there would be a sequel to this one.
I could see it too. I think all endings I think the canon ending they'll probably go with is the secret one.
Yeah.
Um, but I could see there being a sequel to this. Like, there's enough, like, meat on the story and, like, you wondering, like, where things have gone afterwards. I could see it.
Mhm.
I could see it
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, I hope so. I had so much fun with this game.
Yeah.
Um, I could play another sequel, even if it was like a carbon copy of mechanics.
Mhm.
I just want more of that gameplay. I know they'll switch it up a little bit and maybe expand. Um, but I hope whatever worked for the first game they keep.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely hope it, like, sold well enough to warrant a sequel. Um, and as we wrap up, I just thank you for sending this to me. I never would
Oh,
have played it, if you didn't send it my way, and just
yeah.
it's so good. So good.
Um, what was your favorite outfit that is
I
relatively PG?
No, yeah, of course. My favorite one is totally PG. I liked the Kill Bill one, like, the
Oh, yeah.
yellow
Yellow
sweater and,
jacket?
like yeah, dude,
I
that was so
yeah,
cool. I wore that, like, the whole time.
I, I think one of my favorites was, like, a cozy outfit. It was like a turtleneck sweater and, like, just
Mhm.
nothing, like, out of the ordinary. That and, the teddy bear costume.
I'm so mad I didn't find that.
Yeah, it was one of the side quests.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and
That
it was
makes sense.
relevant to, like, the side quest because it was about, bigger brother and teddy bears and his sister. So,
Oh, that's
uh
cool.
I had to look up, like, how to get that one because I saw it online, um, and it just made the serious cutscene so much funnier, and, like, when you fight a boss and then, you kill it and it does a whole cutscene and,
Uh-huh.
like, it's supposed to be super flashy. Well, imagine, like, a bear doing that, and it was just, oh, so worth it.
So good. So good. So worth it. Yeah, dude. I would definitely play it again. Like you said, if there's a carbon copy sequel, it's like basically the same thing. I would definitely play it again
Yeah.
because it was just that good, and I did not expect it to be like that good or have as much fun as I did. But it's definitely
Mhm.
like up there as in like games of the year. I think it's just super like high quality. Like just,
It's gotta be, yeah, they really gave it their all, and you could tell. It's a quality game, and like I said to you and the listeners before, try out this game if you can. There's a free
Mhm.
demo. I believe you play like the first up to the first boss. Get past the fan service and the
Yeah,
criticism of it all, and just appreciate it for like the combat and the gameplay of it all. Um, and I, if you like these kinds of games, you'll be super satisfied.
yeah, absolutely. Just think like mini God of War, not mini as in like it's less of an experience, but just like take that formula, and like, put a different skin on it, and it's basically that.
Yeah,
Um, great,
yeah.
great
I've heard
game.
people compare it to Bayonetta, to
That's good.
Nier Automata, to Devil May Cry. So, if you like those games, this might be a good fit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's Stellar Blade, everybody. Please, please go check it out if you can. Dan, when you say we take a quick break and we'll be right back?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, days and thems, we are back at it. Dan, been feeling a little magical lately after my time with Stella Blade, but you've been feeling a little more magical than I have in many aspects. Tell
Well,
me about your time with Hogwarts Legacy, if you wouldn't mind.
I don't know if magical is the right word. That's kind of a preface to my experience with the game.
More more like mid-gical.
More good one.
Thank you.
Um, no, I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy, the latest Harry Potter game for this generation, and
Mhm.
I beat it yesterday, and it was a bit lackluster for me. I kind of
Yeah.
like touched upon it in previous episodes, um, and it was always waiting for the next like moment where it could possibly wow me.
Yeah.
Um, I hate to say it, it really didn't wow me.
Mhm.
I think, in our brief passings, I've mentioned like I see why people like it. I see how it's a great iteration for people who love Harry Potter, old and new.
Cool.
You do a deep dive, or I wouldn't say deep dive, a surface level dive on like so many different pieces of the Harry Potter universe, um, that you don't get a chance to really indulge and get into like the depths of the game.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, yeah, the best way I could sum it is I was always waiting for the big moment where it's like, okay, I'm hooked here, right? Um, but it just seemed like it was introducing one concept or one aspect of the universe and then moved on to the next. And I didn't really feel motivated to go back to check up on what it already introduced to me because there wasn't much left to do.
Mhm.
Um, one of the examples I could use is like you could play a mini game where it's essentially bocce ball with magic.
Mhm.
Do you know what bocce ball is?
I don't.
Okay, so bocce ball is like an old like lawn game where you have like a little yellow ball or a white ball. It's like a cue ball. You throw it out into
Mhm.
the field, right? And then you yourself you have like a weighted, almost like a mini bowling ball, right?
Okay.
And you want to try to throw or roll or hurl that ball as close as you can to the target cue ball,
Okay.
right? You get points for it.
Okay.
Um,
So that's what that game was like referencing? The mini
you,
game in Hogwarts?
yeah, yeah. And like you have an opponent who does the same thing. Whoever gets closest or second closest gets so many points, right?
Okay.
Um, so in Harry Potter or Hogwarts Legacy, you use the Accio spell to pull a ball towards you, and
Mhm.
then you have to pull it just enough so it doesn't fall over the edge, but as close as you can to the edge.
Right.
Um, the closer you get, the more points you score, right? If it's still pretty far away, you score less points. And so you just kind of try to outscore your opponent with the Accio spell. You do that maybe twice, three times. That's really it. There's no real motivation to go back.
Yeah.
Same thing with like dueling other students. Same thing with broom races, time trial races through the map. Um, it's just you don't. I didn't feel that motivation to do it again, which I felt like I don't know could have been more. Could have been really interesting and really expound upon, but
Mhm.
it's just not really interested in doing a whole lot of the side quests.
I feel you, yeah, I didn't beat the game, I played maybe, like, 3/4 of it, though, yeah, like you said, it throws a lot at you, but a lot of things that are just, like, surface level deep, I think you hit that on the head with it, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of character development, with a lot of things. The side quests kinda just don't feel super worth it. Um, the cosmetics are cool, I thought, like the robes and the drip was pretty
All of
cool.
it really fun, right? And
Absolutely.
I think when I talk about pros, like the aesthetics of this game, the environment, the art, the music, all of that is incredible.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely something I appreciated and enjoyed looking at. Had a lot of fun mixing and matching different like attire and wardrobe and stuff like that. Something I really appreciated about this game, when you look at like the RPG element,
Mhm.
um, is that when even though you equip certain robes or wands or whatever, It doesn't have to appear
Oh,
on your
yes.
character, right?
Yes.
You still get the stats, but you can just change your look, um, and still have those stats still apply, which I really
Mhm.
appreciated because for some reason, this is a con, just personal con for me. The more ridiculous you look, the more powerful you are, right?
Yeah. Yes,
And
yes. I
I
was
didn't understand that. So for a while before I figured out you could change your appearance and keep stats that were
Uh-huh.
tied to certain equipment, I was wearing like a really like ugly old timey hat that I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. I had lizard glasses on where my eyes were
Oh,
like lizard eyes.
yes, yes.
I had a like an enormous like scarf on my neck. I was wearing a tie,
Mhm,
and it didn't mesh well. And I'm like, I hate this, but what I'll do, I'll equip it during fights,
mhm.
and when I'm done a fight, I'll just take it all off
Oh,
and put on
man.
what I wanted. And that was such a tasking process until I figured out, the shortcut.
It must be like a scare tactic thing, like, the more ridiculous you look, the stronger you are. It's like a rooster, like, ruffling up its feathers or something, so, like, you go
It's
into
gotta be.
battle.
I don't even know because some of them was like, you put on Quidditch gloves and all of a sudden you improve your offense like 50 points,
Mhm.
which is huge. And I was like, well, I guess I don't have a choice because all the other equipment is doesn't match up. Um, but it. I don't know if there's any explanation behind it. I don't know if it was meant for like I don't know proposed online play where you just it's super unique to your character.
Right, right.
Um, but that I was a little annoyed with that at the very beginning.
You're dedicated for, going into battle, putting on your clothes, and then afterwards taking them off. You're dedicated
Yeah,
for many items that
which
much.
is like it's the opposite of Stellar Blade. I was just talking about wearing a bear suit and like laughing at that right during a
Yeah,
very
yeah.
serious situation. And here it's like no, it took away from my experience. I wasn't really happy about that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That was I had mixed feelings about that.
For sure. I do definitely appreciate that system, like the transmog system of making your armor look like something else. I wish every game had that. If
Oh
when you have
yeah,
multiple, like, outfit choices, you should be able to, like, take the stats of one, but make it look like whichever one you
yeah.
want.
I mean that
Absolutely.
if they make more games, I hope that's something that carries into the next.
I agree.
I don't know if they'll do a sequel.
I don't
But
know.
yeah, but kind of back to my experience with it. I don't know. The fights I didn't really like. The combat I didn't really like.
I was gonna ask
I
you about the
know.
combat, how you felt about
Yeah,
it.
I didn't really like it. This is something that you'll hear from I'm sure a lot of different reviews. It was just tedious. It was very repetitive and lackluster. It was the same thing over and over. And I pretty sure like my trigger finger for my controller is like it was like tiring after a while. I was getting
Linking
somewhat
spells,
sore.
man.
Yeah, and it
Mhm.
just the impact of these spells didn't feel like it had that like oomph, yeah, right? Like it didn't have that gravitas.
Yeah, you didn't have that
It
good,
did.
like, feedback.
Yeah, yeah. It was kind of
Mhm.
like a little poke, like a dart poke or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and even with some of the more major spells, it I didn't it doesn't it didn't click for me.
Yeah.
So I I think another piece was like the enemies were essentially all the same.
Mhm.
Um, and there's something that I just didn't find so intimidating about these goblins.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just like little minions I was fighting, and for some reason they're like taking half my health.
Man, I get it, I get it. Did,
So
sorry, go ahead.
um, I think as you fight more of these baddies and you get to like the boss fights, I don't know. It was just going through the motion, really. And I got to a point where if I was doing a mission and I saw more goblins, it would be a sigh of like tension. I'd be like, "Oh, not this again. I can't believe I have to do this again." Right?
Oh, but, like,
Uh,
for, like, not tension because, like, a hard fight is coming up, or
No,
for, like,
yes,
I have to fight goblins again.
this is a chore, right?
Mhm.
Um, because it didn't it's just all the same. It didn't vary for me. It didn't scratch that itch.
Did you did your feelings kinda change, like, towards the end when, like, the story ramped up, if it ramped up at all, and, like, towards, like, the final boss fight at
Yeah.
all? Yeah?
It did, yeah.
Okay.
There is, um, one mission where it was very different than any of the missions I was used to.
Okay.
It was kinda like I lived through a flashback that was drawn in pencil, so it was
Oh,
all
cool.
black and white.
Mhm.
Um, and it was kinda fighting Dementors in,
Mhm.
like, this flashback. I thought that was really cool because it was just so refreshing that it wasn't the same thing.
Right.
And from there on, um, or maybe shortly before that, I had to do like a polyjuice potion mission where I drank a potion, was a different character, and it was like funny. It was like really entertaining.
Mhm.
Um, and then up until the final boss was intense. Like
Yeah.
when it came to that climax in the story, it was intense. The fight itself, boring,
Oh, dang.
right? So the stakes were very high, and it's a it, it's like the concept of the fight is exciting, but actually doing the fighting is not too different than fighting the goblins.
Ah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, there's like some patterns that I have to learn
Yeah.
when the enemy attacks, um, but they're very short patterns, and it's very like formulaic, where it's just like, okay, you know what's coming next, and you have to do this. Um, and it took me several tries only because I wasn't paying attention because I wasn't immersed in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for this case, whenever I did die, it's because I used up all my potions because I was too lazy to like, tough it out,
Right, right.
plan it out, and it auto saves like at different phases of that fight. Um, and I didn't feel like I had felt when I was playing Stellar Blade with those bosses. I'd feel like, okay, I gotta get up, I gotta do it again and try this
Mhm.
pattern. It was again going through the motion. It was like, okay, I gotta make sure I match up this spell with that orb and this spell with that orb. I gotta look out for this Q. Um, and I think even after I beat the boss, the ending wasn't like a hard ending, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you beat the boss. Yes, you close like this part of the story, and some other things happen that I won't spoil.
Mhm.
Um, but credits don't roll.
Oh,
You kind of just wake up in your dorm, and it says, "Congratulations, you did it. There are some more missions you could still do,"
okay.
and that's it.
Huh.
Yeah. So again, I could see how people really like this game.
Sure. Yeah.
I could see how it's a different kind of fan service where people can get really excited over the idea that this piece of the universe is now in a video game. Um, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's very surface level, super pretty, super next gen. Um, if you I can see, like, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you grew up with that, the dream of making your own character in this universe, like, I think this game, like, lives off of, like, those
Oh
things,
yeah,
being pretty,
sure.
bringing a fantasy to life, um, but that's kinda just really it, and like I said, I didn't beat the game like you did. You
Mm,
definitely played a lot more than I did. I made it up to where slight spoiler, you get, like, the beast catching mechanic, and it's kinda
sure.
like
The
right.
Pokemon mechanic.
Yeah, the Pokemon is so and I'm just like, "Man, there are too many things going on." You got the whole, like, room you can kinda, like, decorate, you got
Yeah,
this.
I didn't really care for that either.
Yeah, man, it's and even that, it's just like, you can put a couple, like, workshops down to where you can, like, make potions and grow some things, but that's kinda, like, really it. But like I said, it's the game's pretty. The castle, like, Hogwarts itself, like, just
Oh, it's great.
walking through it, amazing. That is
Yeah.
it's beautiful. But I think every point you touched on, I really echo it. The combat felt so samey after a while.
Mhm.
Flying around was cool for the first little bit, but then it's like, "Alright, I mean, I've been through all this before."
Right.
I think I mentioned, like, the last time we talked about it on, one of our previous episodes, like, I really wished that this game like, I don't wanna the game is what it is. I don't wanna, like, turn it into anything that it wasn't aiming
Mhm.
to be, but if this game was more like life simmy, like Persona, or
Yeah,
even like Bully from back in the day, like,
right.
I think it would've been, like, really cool. I don't think the game needed, like, the I say this, but now I'm like, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm, like, kinda, like, torn on this, but, like, maybe the game didn't need this, like, world-ending, like, stakes of the, like, goblin boss that's, like, gonna kill
Yeah,
everything. Because
yeah.
it Harry Potter, like, did obviously had, like, the whole Voldemort thing, but I'm like, in this game, like, you could just be, like, a, student running around, like, Hogwarts and, like, make a game out of, like, getting into hijinks with your friends. Maybe there is,
Right.
like, a boss, like, in the school or something. I don't know. I I'm not a game designer or
I agree with that one. I mean, I think it's what I was hoping for even when this
Mhm.
game was announced. Um, but I think the second I was like, "Oh, you're a 5th year. You're coming in as a 5th year." I was like, "Nope, checked out. I can't do that." I mean, it just seems like such a cop out because only I think when you look at the canon of it all, only 5th years and up can use magic outside of like the classroom.
Right.
Um, eh, if you're a Harry Potter fan and you're listening, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I'll pat myself on the back if I'm right. Please let me know.
There you go.
Um, but I was just like, there's no development there. It's just
Mhm.
like you're thrown. The 5th year is thrown in there. There's a disaster that can wait, which
Right.
is kind of weird to me. Like it could wait at least like 9 months because you go
Mhm.
through the seasons, which was beautiful as it
For
transitioned.
sure.
But I know it wanted to sort of mirror the movies where you saw the seasons go by in a
Mhm.
given year. Um, but I'm like, oh, if this is really like devastating to the magic world, like,
Yeah.
I we want to act a little faster. Um, so by the time you beat the game, it's springtime. So I could see that the game was meant to reach a wide range of players, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if you look at it from that perspective, I think they did a great job with that, right? Because the
Yeah.
game was anyone could pick up the game for the first time and start playing it and enjoy it, right?
Mhm.
Um,
That's
any
a great point
experience,
too.
right?
Yeah.
Experienced gamers that enjoy Harry Potter can still enjoy it, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if I'm a surface level fan. I like to think I'm a fan of Harry Potter.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. It wasn't like spectacular, but it was okay for me. So they did a great job trying to reach as many people as they can. Um, for whatever quality that is, that's up to
Mhm.
the players. But mission accomplished for Portkey Games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they make a sequel, they'll probably kinda make the same type of game, honestly, because it's sold so well. And then they don't need to target, like, the gamers, like, they don't need to make it a life sim, they don't need to, like, add so many mechanics, like, it's sold well. Being what it was, you made a great point, it's just like a for the general audience, it did its job, so
Mhm.
I can't be mad at it, it was, like, the best-selling game of last year, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How can you
I
be mad
mean,
at it?
great. That's a great point. I mean, you look at other games like the Pokemon franchise, right? Trying to reach as wide of an audience as they can. They already have an established base, right?
Mhm.
They're
And they
trying
keep
to build on
selling.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if I've ever talked about this on our podcast, um, but have I ever introduced Thicky Ricky?
I don't think you introduced Thicky Ricky to the podcast, no.
Uh,
Oh,
this might
give
be
us
a good
the
time.
it might be. Give us the lore, Dan. Give us the Thicky Ricky lore.
I don't even know what the lore is, but
I
Thicky
love it.
Ricky has been in our lives for I don't know. I want to say like 6 years now.
Mhm.
Um, Thicky Ricky's not a real person, by the way, listener. So whenever I play a game and there's an opportunity to create my own character, I
I love
I
it.
usually have like my serious character. Like this is like it usually represents like me or a part of me, right? And it's
Mhm.
like my character. And then when I want to be um unserious, I guess, or like go off the deep end, I make Thicky Ricky.
It's the
And
ugliest character.
I try to, yeah, I take the scales and I put them to the extreme end and I make the ugliest character I could possibly make in the game.
Mhm.
I've done it. It started with Bloodborne, right?
Right, right.
When I did my second playthrough, I made Thicky Ricky, and he just looked like such a clown. And there's nothing that can resemble Thicky Ricky, but he was a brute and he was powerful
He was
and
strong.
he was strong. It got me through a lot of the game, and I was like, man, this is so funny that he's so good, but so ugly. So I made him in Bloodborne. I think I made him in Dark Souls
Mhm.
3. There may be a Skyrim version of him.
Nice.
Um, there may be a Baldur's Gate version of him. I'm not quite sure if I saved that one though.
Okay.
But basically, after my first playthrough of the game, I make a Thicky Ricky.
Mhm.
I just go ham. FIFA. I play a lot of FIFA. One of my characters is Thicky Ricky. He
Nice.
has blue skin, like deep blue skin. And he's like 99 stats on everything. He's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so that's Sticky Ricky, right? He's kind of like my stamp on games when if there's a character creation mode. Um, I tried to make Thicky Ricky for Hogwarts Legacy,
Mhm.
and the people are too handsome,
They are, aren't they?
right?
Uh-huh.
I can't exaggerate anything. Even the unibrow option that you could do
Mhm.
still looks good on a
Mm,
lot of the faces. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm a little disappointed there.
Yeah, and it's not super, like the sliders aren't so deep, really.
Yeah,
No matter what you do, you can max out 26 different ones on
right.
opposite ends with each other, and you still got a handsome looking character.
Yeah.
Beautiful, handsome, whatever, good looking.
Hairstyles, give them any hairstyle for
Yep.
any gender. Bald even looks really
Mhm.
good.
Looks good.
Uh, so I was like, I was gonna make a Thicky Ricky that got sorted into Hufflepuff because I had this discussion with my wife. I was like, what house would Thicky Ricky be in?
Uh-huh.
Um, he's not. He's kind of like a dunce, right? He's a brute, so he's not really a thinker.
Hey, man.
Um,
I was in Hufflepuff. What's going on?
he's more artistic and expressive,
That's what you meant. That's what you meant.
right? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was sorted into Ravenclaw, so
Yeah, of course you were.
um, I was like, he's not like textbook Gryffindor, like you would see like Harry Potter, right?
Mhm.
Um, I don't want to see him as Slytherin. He is creepy though, right? Because of that extreme features.
Of course.
So I was like Hufflepuff. Like, I feel like he's a guy that likes to joke around and doesn't take take some things seriously, but is
Yeah.
more of like very supportive of those around him.
Mhm.
Um, while causing mayhem. I yeah, so that part I couldn't put my stamp on it, and I was like, "This is such an inconclusive game for me."
It's
Uh,
unfortunate that everyone's too pretty to have a Thicky Ricky in there, you know?
yeah, yeah, and maybe it's not the game, but it's like symbolic of my experience of the game. It's like, oh man, like, and this, you're not gonna let me do this? Um,
At the very least, I
come
can't
on.
make an ugly character? That is like the icing on the cake, absolutely.
It is. I get so proud when I get to the point where I can make a Thicky Ricky for New Game Plus.
Mhm.
Um, and so if anyone has suggestions on where Thicky Ricky could land next, I'd be happy to design a Thicky Ricky and post him up on our Instagram so you could see,
Yes.
what shenanigans he's up to these days in whatever universe.
You should keep a list of, like, every iteration of Thicky Ricky, like, what game's he in, like, take a screenshot of, like, at least every version of him so we can, like,
Yeah.
keep an accurate, account.
Make like a collage of Thicky Rickies.
Yeah, and get it, like,
Yeah.
professionally drawn for you or something.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't even know where I came up with the name. I think because in Bloodborne, um, the body option, you can make someone like really thin,
Mhm.
or I don't know if they use the word thick, but it's like
I hope so.
muscular, right?
Mhm.
So like the opposite of thin is thick. So
Oh,
this is gonna be a thick boy, and he's just gonna like be hobbling around with a sword
there
or
you
an
go.
axe. So Thicky Ricky just happened to rhyme.
God bless Thicky Ricky. God bless him. God bless his soul. Dan, I'm sorry you had, a middling time with Hogwarts Legacy, but, I mean, you saw it through to the end, and you see a
I
lot of
did.
games through to the end, no
Yeah.
matter, like, how much you're not enjoying them, which I find very
Yeah.
commendable.
I thank you. Yeah, I just I've said it before. I maybe not on the podcast, but it's like if I start it, I kind of want to do a service to the people who did put hard work into it, right?
Sure,
Um, it's sort of like I don't ever walk out of a movie theater if I don't like the movie, right?
sure.
I kind of see it through to the end and you know try to let my opinion sort of brew that way.
Mhm.
Um, and it's for this game specifically, it was that hope that like, okay, they gotta tie it in a nice bow somehow.
Yeah.
Um, but for other games that I just had, I don't know, less fun with. Um, yeah, I try to make it to the end so that way I could say I did it, I gave it a chance. No, I'm not really about it. Before Hogwarts Legacy, I think it was Balatro, but Balatro didn't
Yeah.
really have an ending, right?
Right, right. It's
Yeah.
coming to phone that speaking of which, it's coming to phones soon, like mobile, so I think that's when I'm at gonna give it a try, and, I'll
I,
let you know if I have the same feelings as you or not.
I could, yeah, well, I could see it more like practical for a phone. Like if you want to
Yeah.
do a quick round, or you're just like chilling and just want something mindless.
Mhm.
Great. I think that might actually work. Um, but when I'm on, I think it was my Steam Deck, and I'm like I got this like
Big
powerful
ol'
machine in my hands, and
hunk
I'm just like
thing.
kind of going through these rounds. So yeah, that was a mismatch for me.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, thank you, Dan. Well, why don't we take a quick little break? I think we had 2, like, really chunky games. We'll come back with some, like, quick hits.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
let's do it. Babies, gentlemen, we're back. Dan, I'm trying to figure out a segue into this. Hogwarts Legacy was not giving you the itch that you wanted, but some things that get itchy are monkeys, and I've been
Man, no, I think you
no.
missed the mark. I don't
Ah,
know if that
man.
worked. I was
Ah.
thinking more mythical beasts, like
Oh,
fantastical
no.
beasts,
That would've
mythical
been
beasts.
great. That would've been
Yeah.
great.
All right.
Mm.
That's all right. Next time.
Next time, whatever. I've been playing Black Myth Wukong. Um, I was very excited to I wasn't rushing to finish Stellar Blade to get to this one, but I was like, while I was fighting Raven, I was like, I can't wait to finish this game so I can get to Black Myth because it's kinda a similar game. It's
Mhm.
very character action game. Um, but one thing about me, monkeys are like my favorite animal.
Wait,
And
hold
like,
on. I didn't know that.
dude, I love monkeys. It's my
Really?
thing. Dude, yes. Yes.
Wow. That's awesome. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what it is. I've always wanted a pet monkey.
Mm,
Never gonna get one because that's kind of crazy and insane. But just
right.
love monkeys. Always have. And I like the Journey to the West like lore. I'm not super up on it. I
Okay.
haven't read the books or like any like the movies, but Dragon Ball. Obviously, a big fan of Dragon Ball. not big fan, but, a fan enough. And the trailers for this game came out, I think, like, all the way back in, like, 2020 is when, like,
Yeah.
we first saw it, right?
Right.
So
Right.
long ago. And from then on, like, I was immediately hooked. And this game just, like, I'm a little bit into it, so I don't have, like, super too much to say. I'm in this game's version of the second world. I'm not gonna give, like, any spoilers to you about anything at all. But I will say, like, the game's action and the fighting is, like, so much fun. Very reminiscent of Stellar Blade. There is no parry button though. Well, there's a parry
Okay.
mechanic, but it's not
Okay.
as, like, apparent as Stellar Blade, so my muscle memory was, like, really messing me up because the button to parry in Stellar Blade is, like, you're healing in this game, so I'm just, like, wasting my, like, basically, like, Estus flasks, like, healing when I didn't need to, so
Right.
that was fun. But the combat is super frenetic, like, you're playing as a monkey and you're moving around like a monkey, like, you're quick, you're nimble, you're this, like, trickster, so, like, you're using, like, trickster abilities,
Yeah.
so much fun, the environments look really, really good, like, they're beautiful, like, um, this isn't a spoiler at all, like, the first world area is like a forest, so it's like you're basically, like, walking through, like, a forest and all that, and, like, the greenery is beautiful, the water is, like, awesome, and the bosses looked, like, really cool, like, again, I'm not super familiar with the lore, and I think this game is just kinda, like, inspired by I'm not sure if it's running, like, exactly through, like, the Journey to West story, but I'm
Mhm.
sure there are a lot of, like, familiar elements, and they're taking bits and pieces of it and maybe molding
Right.
it in their own way, but it's super cool, highly, highly recommend it to you when you do get a chance. I wanted to get it physical so I could send you my copy of it, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
only digital right now, unfortunately, which is, like,
Yeah.
weird, but
I,
it's fun. It's fun.
I know those are such good things to say because I've been looking forward to this game for a very long time.
Mhm,
I've said it, I think, at the beginning of the summer that it was a game I was looking forward to, but even as far back as when I first saw the Stellar Blade trailer, the
mhm.
teaser, at that time it was called Project Eve. Not long after that came this Black Myth Wukong trailer, and I'm like, this looks incredible, right?
Yeah.
Like when I think about next gen consoles, Black Myth was like going to be the bar for me. That and like Spider Man or something like that. Um, and so for it to follow a story that I'm actually really fond of and I would say pretty familiar with,
Mhm.
you know, to see that fantasy world come to life is like that's that's magical for me. Um, because my knowledge of Journey to the West starts as early as like when I was 8 years old, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well before Harry Potter came to like fruition for me. Um, so like I know like other games have referenced this folklore.
Mhm.
Um, I one of the ones that comes to mind is League of Legends, which I have a whole
Oh,
history
really?
with. But League of Legends has, I think Wukong is one of the champions that you could play as,
Okay.
and he was like my main for a while when I first started playing um, League of Legends, and I stopped for a good reason, which is probably better for my mental health. um, but
Heard,
like
understood.
he was in that game. Any character with a bow staff, I'm like, okay, you're kind of
Oh,
mimicking
absolutely.
like this
Mhm.
Monkey King, right? Um, you think I was playing Soul Calibur, and I always picked. I forget his. I think his name is Killick, and he had the bow staff, and his
Mhm.
moves, like some of his move sets in that fighting game, um, he was doing like some trickster monkey moves, and he would
Yeah.
even sound like a monkey for a hot second.
Oh, cool.
Um, and I'm like, okay, that's a reference. That's a good one too.
Mhm.
Dragon Ball. I think Naruto also has a reference to Monkey King Wukong.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but there's so like it's like everywhere, at least in like a lot of Asian stories, Eastern
Mhm.
Asian stories and games. Um, this folklore has just been like it's everyone knows it. So for it to have its own space to hopefully stay true to the folklore and the tale, um, that's like a nice, I don't want to say honorable thing, but like a nice nod
Yeah,
to
yeah.
such a significant cultural story.
Absolutely. It's nice to, like, see this in a fuller form,
Hmm.
rather than, like, things that are inspired by which are good in their own right, absolutely.
Right, right.
But it's cool to, like, actually play as the monkey with the bow staff and, like, see it in, like, this action game form, other than there are some games that I know, like the ones that you mentioned, and then there's that one game that was, like, an old 360 game. It was, like, um Enslaved, like, Odyssey to the West or something, which
Hmm.
was you play as this guy, but they call him Monkey, he has a bow staff. This is like I think this is like one of the first ones where you actually play as a monkey, and
Right,
it's
right.
basically the story. And this game, I think one of the signs that it's like, people are, like, really appreciating it is, like, it sold, like, crazy, crazy numbers in China,
Oh
where I
yeah.
think where, like, games like this probably usually don't do that well, and, like, it, like, sold like gangbusters over there because, it's a Chinese folklore,
Right.
and, this is probably, like, well regarded over there, like a well-loved, like, myth or, folk
Hmm.
story,
Hmm.
folklore, whatever you call it, but it's super fun and you can tell there's a lot of love put into it because, there are when you pull up the pause menu, there are character entries, and it's not just like 1 or 2 sentences describing that character. There will be like, parentheses, and it gives like a poetic little, like, entry, and then there would be, like, paragraphs of
Oh
just,
yeah.
like, lore. So, like, you could just, like, sit there and, like, read these things, and really, like, sink in the story that they're trying to tell you.
Right.
And it's just super interesting, and, the combat's fun, the action's fun, just like the animations are really good too, like, they really must have, like, took their time and, like, thought about, like, what if this monkey, which is, like, he's a monkey, but he's, like, the height of a human, and he's walking around like a
Right.
human, but, like,
Right.
what if that was, like, he's moving around as you would think that a monkey the size of a human would move around, like,
Hmm.
just, like, the way you, like, idle back and forth during, like, fights, like, it looks so cool, and smaller things, like, when he's walking up and down stairs, like, he's like, "Oh, yeah, I feel like a monkey would, like, walk up and down stairs like that." It's just, like, so much attention to detail. I
Yeah.
think the only thing that I would ding it for so far, um, there's not a huge sense of exploration so far. There'll be a couple chests, like, off the beaten path. There are,
Hmm.
like, multiple, like, paths and stuff like that, but it doesn't seem like there's a huge emphasis on that. Um, the emphasis so far really just seems like it's on its combat, and the boss fights, which are, like, good in their own right, so
Hmm.
I can't really complain about that, and there is this is, like, the biggest thing for me, and it's take it or leave it. Um, there's no map
There's
for,
no
like
map.
there's no map, so there's no mini map and there's no main map, and, like, the worlds can be kinda, like, sprawling not sprawling, but, like, there's a lot of different paths. So, it could get a little confusing, but I'd take that as, like, I wish there was a map, but the lack of one kinda, like, makes me feel really immersed in a way. So I wish there
Okay.
was one, but I can appreciate there not being one, if that makes any
Okay.
sense, It
Yeah.
forces me yeah, it forces me to explore and kinda just, like, not keep pulling up the pause menu to wonder where I am and just, like, go from point A to point B to point C. So, take it or leave it,
Mhm.
Take it
That's
or leave it.
interesting. That's an
No.
interesting choice by the developers, but I I can sort of see just like you where they're trying to encourage exploration.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's not like you're running around, like, huge sprawling cities, like, so far, it's just been natural environments. Um,
Yeah.
so it's cool.
Well, I think about Souls-like games, right? And did Bloodborne and Dark Souls have maps?
I don't think so. I don't remember one in
No.
Bloodborne. I don't know if Sekiro had one. Well,
I
yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
really
know.
remember.
Either.
Oh, it might be something that we are used to, is just didn't expect it to be a feature of this game.
Exactly. Yeah, it's something like we're just so used to, so the lack of one seems strange right
Yeah.
off the bat,
Right.
but it's not I said it as if it was a detriment, and it might be a detriment, but getting used to it, and
Mhm.
it's not taking away from my experience as a whole.
Good. Okay.
So, yeah, it's a fun game.
Yeah.
I think you'll really like it.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Absolutely. That's all I have to say about it, really. Next time I'll come in with some more thoughts. I'm really early on. So, but that's about it. Wrap up that into a nice little bow. I'm bordering on loving this game depending on how it turns out, but you're bordering on Borderlands 3.
Land?
Land
On land?
on land, baby, land ho. What's up?
Um, we'll do better next episode, I promise.
I don't know, man. It's late in the night. We record this late not late at night, but whatever. Go ahead.
Um, Borderlands 3, I got a long time ago. I just never really wanted to make progress through it.
Yeah.
It was one of those, like, mindless, like, little fictional comic book-like shooters, right? Kinda just like the shoot loot games.
Yep.
Um, I played the first Borderlands with a buddy of mine back in my hometown, and yeah, it was one of those games. Like, we would get Chinese food, we would play Borderlands, and kind of just laugh through the night, and that was it. That was
Mhm.
a lot of fun. Um, I didn't play the second one, but the third one was like on sale 1 year, and I bought it and played 10 minutes, and that was it. Um,
Oh, really? Put it down.
yeah, it wasn't until recently where I picked it up again. I'm like, hey, this is kind of fun.
Mhm.
Um, and I picked a character, one of the characters you could choose. He's like a sort of like a beast master where you could like manipulate animals and beasts.
Mhm.
Um, he's voiced by a YouTuber slash voice actor, now voice actor that I really like.
Oh, cool.
ProZD on YouTube, Sungwon, I forget if that's his name or not. Great voice, awesome actor.
Mhm.
He's done a lot of anime. He's done a lot of cartoons. Um, in God of War Ragnarok, he was Ratatoskr, the
Oh,
squirrel.
cool.
Yeah. So it's just really cool to see some guy that I used to watch like vines on, right?
Mhm.
And just laugh at his little skits. Now he's like made it through the ranks, and now he's voicing video game characters. It's really cool.
Nice.
So that was definitely one of the reasons why I wanted to get Borderlands 3. But it's a fun game. It's a game that just never takes itself seriously.
Right.
Um, it's cell shaded, it's fun, it's chaotic, it's ridiculous. Um, and it's got a good amount of challenge to it.
Mhm.
For shoot and loot games. It kind of reminds me of, did you ever play Outer Worlds?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Another game that I wasn't too crazy about but finished.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of like zany, kind of like that game.
Mhm.
Um, and Borderlands is like, it's been around for a long time, so people know what it is. I don't know if the story is anything like worth writing home about.
Right.
Um, but it's just one of those. I wanted like a mindless shooter game. Um, because sometimes, again, playing FIFA just could be mind numbing. I put too many
Absolutely.
hours into it, and I don't make a whole lot of progress. Um, so for it to be sort of devoted to the Borderlands series, I'm pretty happy with that.
Cool. Would you say this is like a Borderlands 3 could be a good place for, like, a newcomer to jump in?
Um, yes, yes. In terms of
Yeah?
like gameplay, yes.
Okay.
Um, there's some parts of the story where it's like you could start with maybe two, but definitely one to understand. Like, okay, this is how like wacky this world is, right? You got a little
Okay.
claptrap robot like throwing jokes at you, right? And
Mhm.
kind of just carries on through the different sequels. Um, I think there are some returning characters that even I am not familiar with. Um, which would be nice to know. But either way, I'm still having a good time. So if you're just looking to like pick up wherever and just have fun with it, yeah, pick up Borderlands 3. If you want to like see the cool evolution of the game and the characters and the world itself, in like a Mad Max, like funny comical style,
Mhm.
definitely start with at least the second.
Word. Okay. Like I've never played. I think I played a little bit of Tiny Tina's Wonderland, like the little
Hmm.
side spinoff. But that's really it. There's a time and place for a mindless shooter. Mindless little looter shooter.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Absolutely.
used to do like I used to play like the shooters like Call of Duty and Battlefield and stuff like that. Whereas like
Mhm.
that was intense. That was kind of hardcore. That was back in
Yeah.
my college days, um, where it wasn't like just having a good time. It was like I need to get better, right? I need better equipment. I need more upgrades. I need to be ranked, right?
Mhm.
Um, but with Borderlands, it's just like yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot of energy.
Absolutely. Do you feel like there's less of experience because you're playing it solo, as opposed to if you were playing, like, with somebody?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is. I think I miss out on some things because I think the whole point um has always been to do like a local co-op at the very least.
Mhm.
Um you can see like there are so many ways to set up for that in the Borderland games. And that's how I first started playing Borderlands with my buddy.
Yeah.
Uh, and so yeah, I think it's someone to sit next to or play online with and just laugh at the game would elevate it a little bit. But
Mhm.
after a long day of work, it's just like I'm just gonna cruise through this and see what happens.
Absolutely. Do my thing on it. Yeah, that was, like, super huge. I remember in college, like, all the nerds would, like, set up in the room, and they would play Borderlands together, and I would, like,
Yeah,
low-key be jealous. I'm like, "Oh, I've never played that, and I can't talk to people. What's going on?" But that's super cool, man.
yeah, definitely.
I hear there's, like, a new one in development, so maybe I'll wait till that one, but I would like to experience, like, one Borderlands game through to the end one of these days. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's worth it. They are making a fourth. I don't know when it's dated to be released. Um, but yeah, I don't know if you played the Far Cry games. It kind of has a similar feel to Far Cry, but again,
Okay.
less serious. Open world, kind of do different side quests and meet different people and stuff like that. Collect your guns, customize what you want. It's pretty cool.
Dope, dope. I'll get
Yeah,
into it one of these days.
cool.
A little tester outer.
So, next one I am playing sort of casually, Tales of Arise. Um, it's a Tales series. It's part of the Tales series, not the
Mhm.
Trail series, and not the Trial series. um, I don't know why they did that.
Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
So Tales of Arise is one of the games in the Tales series, and you're playing through a manga, honestly. Like it's set up like that. It's like anime. It's like an animated manga, and it's an anime like cinematic style.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Um, and
Is this
it's
the one where on the cover it's like a guy, like, in armor, and there's, like, a
yep,
girl next to him with
yep,
pink hair,
yep.
maybe? Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Those are like the two protagonists.
Okay.
Um, Interesting story so far as JRPGs go.
Mhm.
That could get really confusing really fast or really just surface level throughout.
Yeah.
But the combat's a lot of fun. When you
Sure.
get into like a battle with a monster, um, it's more like action RPG, like you would see in
Okay.
like modern Final Fantasy. Um, I can't think of another one that would be related to it. But it's like more real time combat.
Okay.
Um, oh, there was an older game that was like that, and I played it for a hot second. And I'm not going to remember it right now.
No worries.
But I'll remember after we finish
Yeah,
recording.
I if you
Um,
remember, let me know, and I'll insert it in post.
yeah, absolutely. Um, but it's a lot of fun. It's action packed. The music is great. Visuals are great. It's like you're playing through like a comic book, like a manga. Um, and I'm excited to like meet more characters. I'm excited to like expand my move set.
Mhm.
and there's like sort of like this mystery and tension between the protagonists right now, which is
Mhm.
keeping me engaged.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so it's a lot of fun. It got great reviews back when it came out. I forget what year, 2021, 2022. Um, and it was on my to playlist for so long. So it was just sitting unwrapped on my shelf until recently.
Fantastic. I was just going back to the combat, so it's not fully just like what's the word for it? It's not fully real time, right? Like, is there like a twist on it or whatever? Like,
Um,
I'm thinking like Final Fantasy 13 where it's like just like an active time battle type of thing. Is that
it's more so like
similar?
15,
50
like
okay, okay.
Final Fantasy 15 in a smaller space.
Right.
Um, you get the whole like battle transition and stuff. And opens up like a little arena for you, and then you're just throwing bows at each other.
Okay.
A game I could think about is like, well, remember that Pokemon Arena game where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
play as Pokemon and you like just like different move set with the button.
Mhm.
What was that game called?
It's like
Why can't
Pokken.
Yeah, Pokken, right.
Pokken
It's
tournament.
kind of like that, yeah.
Interesting.
Um, the retro game that I played, Dark Cloud.
Uh,
Um, it's almost like I don't want to say carbon copy, but it's very similar where, it's real time, you're moving around during this fight, you're
mhm.
doing your moves, you're healing, you're doing whatever. Um, Fight's over, you go back to whatever you're exploring, and you go to the next enemy when you encounter them. So I really like it. It's a different spin on the types of games I've played, especially for JRPG.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it might start like momentum or of interest in the Tales series.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
I know on my Switch I have Tales of Vesperia, which I kind of like fiddled around with, but I know that one will take a lot of brain power too. So just hold off on it for now.
Just cool series that, like, I have, like, no knowledge of that, like, exist out there, and there's, like, fan bases for these things. It's cool
Yeah,
to, like, at least hear you talk about them because I would have no knowledge or maybe interest
right. I mean,
any
I
other way.
I didn't really know much about it either. I just thought it looked cool, tried it out, and if I get stuck playing it, I get stuck playing it.
That's awesome.
But yeah, so far it's paid off.
Cool, I'm excited to hear more about it, and if you like it enough, then I guess I have to play it afterwards.
I'll send it
That's
to
how
you.
it goes. Absolutely, and I'll have to send you yours back. Remind me to do that. Or don't remind me,
Okay,
I'll remember.
I'll see you soon. Right,
Yeah, that's right, you will see me.
we're going to a wedding together. We're both part of a wedding party, so
Right,
I'll see you
we're
then.
getting married, that's right.
Yeah, right.
In a nice little, civil union, but
Yeah,
speaking of
in the
civ
middle of the woods, huh? Oh, nice. Hey,
I
you
got
nailed
it!
it for the last one. Well
That's
done.
right.
Oh, wow, that was good.
Thank you,
You caught
man,
me off
thank you.
guard. Um, Civilization 6. What do I have to say about this game? It's cool. It's great to play on PC, you know.
Oh, yeah,
My
because 'cause you're a
youngest
PC gamer
PC
boy
I
now.
built, yeah. Um, it's interesting. It's not a genre I really dive into ever.
Mhm,
When I was younger and we had Windows 95, we had like a booklet of CD games, CD-ROMs of different
mhm.
games. Um, that somehow came with the computer. And one of the games was, I think, Civilization 2.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be like state of the art at the time. Um, and as like how old was I? 9-year old, 8-year old, maybe younger. I would throw in that CD. I would play Civilization 2. I had no idea what was happening.
I was about to ask you if you knew what you were doing or not.
No, not at all. It used like great audio cards. It used like a graphics card, like whatever that was back then, a graphics chip.
Mhm.
Um, and it was supposed to showcase what these computers were capable of doing. Um, but it was a lot of reading. And for like
Oh,
a kid to play a game and be told to read all this like stuff, No,
Mhm.
I wanted action, right? And
Absolutely.
it was a real-time strategy game. It is a real-time strategy game, and, I felt like everything I did was random. I get random encounters, random battles/war with
Uh-huh.
other tribes. I didn't know how to, like, do anything. And so I it was just a game. I clicked around for, like, 10 minutes, would quit, do something else, play, like, Space Cadet Pinball or something. Um
Shout out Space Cadet Pinball.
Yeah, right? Bring that back, guys. Like, that was awesome.
Honestly.
Um, so fast forward to today, Civ 6 was on sale recently over the summer. Um, I was like, "Yeah, let's try it out. I got a PC now. Let's see how it works."
Okay.
Um, Works really well. It's a
Nice.
super in-depth game,
Uh-huh.
and I've played a couple hours. I don't know what I'm doing. Even even like 30 years later, I have no idea what is happening.
The 8-year-old in Dan prevails.
Yeah, right. And so, um, do you do you hear that?
I do, it kinda scared me a little bit.
Sorry. That's the dishwasher. Everyone, that's my dishwasher. Um,
Oh, man.
so I'm doing the same thing I did when I was 8. I'm clicking around. I
Okay.
have the tutorial on, but the tutorial has a character and it stays in character and it's still kind of like cryptic to me.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't really know what the purpose is. And I'm trying to
Mhm.
find like the fun in it. But before I get there, I have to really like learn this game.
Mhm.
Um, because like Civ 7's coming out soon, or it might be out right now. And I've heard so many good things about this series from our mutual friends.
Mhm.
That I'm like, I got to give this one a chance too. But when I think about real-time strategy games, I think about like Command and Conquer, Red Alert, right?
Right.
Uh, I think about Warcraft. I think it was Warcraft 2. I think about all these different games where I was like, I got like pretty good feedback and I figured out what I needed to do. StarCraft was another good one.
StarCraft, yeah.
Um, but with Civ, I'm like, I, why do I need to know what this is or what that is, and how do I make
Right.
money? How do I build a house?
That's
Why can't I
interesting.
fight anything? Yeah, I don't know. It's a process.
Are you finding yourself more frustrated than anything in the learning process?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I think that's the best way to describe it. I am frustrated, only like not in like a really bad way or a negative way. I'm frustrated
Mhm.
that I am not. It's not like registering with me.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah,
so I am motivated to keep trying.
that's good.
Um, I pulled up like a YouTube video, but even that was a little bit too dense for me.
Mhm.
So I really just got to find some way to learn like the bare bones of it.
Yeah, these games, like, it's like some of these games are it's a new language you have to learn,
Yeah.
uh, especially, like, the real-time strategy games, especially Civ, something as deep and dense and has the history of a game like that.
Yeah.
Uh, I commend you. I've never touched, a Civ like, any real-time strategy game, especially Civ. Is the game, like is it explaining itself well? Or you said you had to, like, dive into YouTube videos to, like,
Yeah.
get a little deeper information, right?
Right. Because I mean, the tutorial might tell me how to do it,
Mhm.
or I have to wait till I get to that point in the tutorial. But I know I'm just not in a flow, right? You know, when you
Yeah.
learn a new game, like one piece of information builds on the last, right? And the
Mhm.
next does the same function. I'm kind of like looking at it piecemeal here, where it's like, okay, well, if this is here, and this seemingly unrelated aspect is there, how
Right.
do they come together to give me an experience, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it's not as linear. Maybe that's what it is. It's not as linear as I'm used to,
Right.
um, and that buildup isn't what I'm used to as well. So I think I just have to like take a different approach and be a little more patient and open when I play Civ.
Yeah, and, like, maybe just let the knowledge sink in, take your time, be
Yeah,
okay with losing a couple battles at the beginning or something like
right,
that.
right. It's not like
Um
it's not a story based game, you know.
Mhm.
whereas some of the real-time strategy games in the past were story-based for me. So I think, like I said, it's going to take some patience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, learning a whole new language. I'm interested to see if you if you just like Balatro, you put 40, 50 hours into it and you're like, yeah, no, I still don't like it. But I'm seeing it
Yeah,
through.
I don't know if it's for me.
I swear, like you were like, I don't like Balatro, and I'm here thinking like, oh, he only played like an hour of it. He's like, no, I put like 40 hours into it. I'm like, what? Jeez. Well, I guess he really doesn't like it. But I'm
Yeah.
interested to see if it's a similar situation to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things I'll do in passing. I think what I need to do is like sit down like at least an hour to really learn it. But this is like 10 minutes before bed. Click
Yeah.
around. I do the same with Papers, Please. That's another one that's just I'm clicking around.
Mhm.
Um, that's a game I'll talk about later
Oh,
because
nice.
it's an interesting one.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I think especially being new to the PC world, it's like, what can I experiment with? What can I sort of build that muscle memory for, that
Yeah.
mental memory for, um, and then go from there and see what else I could explore.
Cool, cool. It's
Mm.
like one of those things you gotta do your homework for, apparently. Really
Yeah,
gotta
well, yeah, some more than others. Yeah,
That's cool, man. Definitely report back in, and tell me what you know.
for
One
sure.
last question, is it one of those games you can, like, pick up and play and put, like, a couple minutes into, or does it seem like you need to put, like, an hour into a run
Mm,
or something to get,
I
like, something meaningful out of it?
I'm hoping it's one of those games I could pick up just really quick, play, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes,
Okay.
and then move on to whatever else I got to do. Um, Of course, now putting in the energy to learn might be a game I have to sit down and take up more time for.
Mhm.
Uh, but from what I've heard before, you should be able to just log in, log out, right? Um, Especially for real-time strategy games, you could save at whatever point, come back to it later.
Okay,
All your
that's good.
pieces are still there, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that's the beauty of it. It's just a matter of training myself to get there.
Absolutely. It's kinda it's not the same, but you should check out Manor Lords if you get the
Mhm.
chance. It's on PC Game Pass as well. I believe you might have that these
Yes.
days.
Yep.
Dope. It's on there. It's also on Steam if you wanna check it out, but it's kinda just like, city builder. I think there might be, some, like, real-time strategy elements to it, but people are, like, raving about it. People like it a lot. It's early access, but it's still a lot of fun, so
Okay.
put that on your list. Put that on your
Yeah,
list,
that sounds
man.
like a cool one.
Sounds good, man. But yeah, let me know about Civ 6 later on down the line if you're sticking with it. I'm interested to see, like, your, homework development and all that.
Yeah, absolutely, and who knows? I might be an expert very
Yeah,
soon. I
you might
just
be like
click all.
absolutely, you might be a StarCraft, like, freaking, professional, but for Civ instead of professional,
Right, right, right.
about the esports and ish. Cool beans, man. Cool beans. Well, that was I think we just did a podcast, man.
I think we covered most of our podcast.
Never mind. We had some chunky topics, so we went a little late. But I think the next episode as well, we got some like really chunky topics to get into.
Oh, yeah.
So
Really looking forward to the next one. That's gonna be real good.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're gonna wrap up here, ladies and gentlemen. It is past our bedtimes, but you can give us a good old follow on our Instagram at Double Kick Games. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel now. I'm just posting like the episodes over there. There's not a huge video element to it. It's just something that plays in the background, but you can find our episodes up there. Maybe there will be more fun stuff that will be posted to there later on down the line. Give us a little follow on Spotify, Apple Music if you can. If you want to give us a little 5-star rating, bam, that helps out with the algorithm. Other than that, Dan, I had a fun time.
It's been great. It's been fun. It's been great fun.
Absolutely. Great fun. Look out for those gray sausages in space, ladies and gentlemen, theys and thems.
Or
And with
orange.
that, or
Yeah.
orange, or
Or
orange, as we
orange.
found
Yeah.
out. And with that, good night.
Good night, folks.